Hi, my name is Miriam, and I have an 8-year-old autistic daughter whose name is Raquel. We live in Panama in Central America, and I've dedicated around 7 years to getting her further away from the autistic spectrum. She started really, really low in the spectrum. She was very, very severe. And I was lucky enough to have twins. She has also an 8-year-old sister called Marcela. And because I had both of them to compare, I could tell at a very early age that something was not right. I had zero emotional attachment to my daughter, and she had zero attachment to me. When Marcela would start saying words, Raquel still hasn't, she wouldn't even babble. I felt a disconnect with her that was very, very big, and I felt it at a very young age. She must have been around 6 months old. So I went to the doctor, and he said, you know, there's really nothing we can do at 6 months old. There's no way to diagnose autism at 6 months old. It's just a mother's hunch, and really there's nothing we can do about that. But I kept thinking, okay, this is not right. My daughter doesn't do the same things as Marcela does. I was told that I was just being critical, that Marcela was just smarter or quicker or had a more outgoing personality. But the truth was something was not right. She never looked at your eyes. If you wanted to talk to her, she would never pay attention. And around 1.5 years old, it was very clear there was something wrong. I went to say, Raquel, and I don't know, I expected her to turn around and look at me, and she didn't. So my husband tried, Raquel, and screamed right by her ear. And she didn't even look at him. So we thought, okay, she must be deaf. We took her immediately to a doctor that did tests on her, and he scared her with a loud noise, and she started crying, and he said, okay, she's not deaf. So then why isn't she looking at me when I call her name? So time went on, not much time, but I went to the United States, and I went to go see a doctor, and I said, okay, I know that my daughter has something. Is she autistic? And he looks at my daughter and he goes, no, she's not autistic. She's severely autistic. Can't you see? And it was a shock for me, because here where I live, they would tell me there was no problem, that she would talk eventually. But here's the thing. My daughter would hurt herself. She would bite her arm all the way from her wrist up to her shoulder. She would isolate herself in her bedroom. She used to love to play with her shadows. She would mimic her hands and look at herself in the wall with the shadows. Also, we couldn't take her anywhere. If we were to leave the house, she would become hysterical. It was like a panic attack. She didn't know what was happening to her. It wasn't a tantrum. It wasn't like I'm unhappy because this happened to me. She just literally did not understand what was happening around her. So we couldn't take her out of the house. I tried so many times just to have a regular Sunday in the movies with my daughters and my husband, and it wasn't possible. So I started trying 1,000 different things. I did a gluten and casein diet, which I'm still doing. I did hyperbaric chambers. I did GCMF. I did IVIGs. I've done it all. I have done so much. And that's why I say the last 7 years I've been literally looking for solutions for her. And we finally saw the light when we came to the Brain Treatment Center. 4 years ago, it was still pretty new for autism. And we were walking in not knowing what was going to happen. But I finally got my break. Because I walked in and they said, okay, we're going to test out a week. We're only going to do you a week. And if she responds, you can stay. And my husband was very thankful for that, because I had him crazy, doing so many crazy things. And he said, okay, if this company is going to let us do a week, then we can try at least to see if it's something that can work. So they did an EEG on her, and they sat down with me. Without even looking at my daughter, the doctor told me exactly who she was. He said, okay, your daughter can't speak. Your daughter has high anxiety levels. I don't think she really knows much of what's going on in the world. Her processing is really off. She does not have an organized brain. And it definitely felt true to me that information that would come to my daughter wouldn't be received the same way it would a normal child, because she never followed instructions. She never looked at your face. She didn't speak. She was severe. She was severely autistic. So he basically described my kid in a nutshell, and I just had a good feeling about it. So we did the first day of treatment, and she seemed to enjoy it, which is really weird because she cries all the time. If she wasn't in her four walls, it was very bad. So we did the first treatment, and I drove an hour and a half to my aunt's house in Los Angeles, so I wouldn't be alone. And she was pretty much the same. I didn't see much change that day. The next day, the first change I saw was she was happy to get in the car, which was usually hell for me. To get her in a car, to go somewhere, it was kicking, screaming, biting. But she got in the car willingly, and that to me was a change. So we get to the center, and she happily sits in her chair and lets the technician do what he has to do, and she just smiles through it. So in my head, I'm like, I'm staying. This definitely worked. And I already knew it was going to work on her. So we go back home to my aunt's house, and I'm with my husband in the kitchen. And she comes up to us with her little cup, and she holds it out to me, and she says, "Dame más jugo." Yes? "Give me more juice," is what she said to me. And that is the first time I heard my daughter speak. And oftentimes people ask me if I cried or what. And when you see a miracle such as this, and it's so spontaneous and unexpected, there is no crying. We were just in shock. Me and my husband just stood there looking at her. And she just looked back like, "Come on, stupid." The juice. It was. So we gave her the juice. And so my husband grabbed the camera and he goes, "Okay, I need to film this. I need to see if she says something else." So she walks outside to my aunt's yard, and my aunt has these trees with lemons in it. And my daughter goes to one lemon and takes it out of the tree and smells it. And even just that to me is, how does this child know that this fruit smells? She has never had a chance to go outside and look at something like this. She wouldn't allow us to take her. But she had it in her brain. She somehow had that information. So we were in shock just at that. So she's smelling this lemon, and Marcela, her sister, comes and just takes it back. And I think to myself, oh gosh, no, don't take the lemon. You know, finally Raquel is seeing nature, seeing something. But then what happened was so amazing. Raquel had her first fight with her sister. She grabbed the lemon back and said, "Mi limón," which is my lemon. And then she teased her sister. She said, "Mi limón, mi limón." And we just could not fathom what was happening. So many things, not only language, but connection. And this was just the beginning of what I saw with this treatment. Something else that I definitely can say was I would say even more important to me than the speech. Everybody wants their kids to speak. I want that for my daughter. But the connection with me, it was very black and white. One day she knew me, one day she didn't know me, the next day she did. I'll explain. So around 1.5 weeks into treatment, she walks in the door and she holds her little arms out for me to pick her up. And I pick her up, and she just holds me at a distance and just hugs me. And then she holds me at a distance again, and she goes, "Ah," with such excitement, and then she just hugs me. And it was back and forth, this connection of, it was almost as if I've rose from the dead. It was magical. It was amazing. And my aunt said it to me, because she didn't know my daughter very well. She said, gosh, if I didn't know any better, it looks like she's meeting you. I'm like, she's meeting me. And that day, my daughter knew I was her mom. And we are inseparable. It was, I want makeup with mommy. I want to sleep with mommy. I want to eat with mommy. I want to wear mommy's shoes. It was a switch that just turned on in her brain. And all of a sudden, all this information that before she couldn't make sense of, everything just lined up so beautifully. And I could keep on going. For example, instructions, I would say, I said, Raquel, go into your bedroom, find the red shoes and put them on here. And she did it. And I truly didn't expect her to. I really didn't. Another thing that happened, we were in the car and I gave her an empanada that my aunt had made her. And I said, you know, if my daughter understands what I'm telling her now and she can say things back, I'm just going to just try to treat her as normal as possible. So I said, listen, if you want any more, just let me know. And I'm driving in the freeway and I'm like, yeah, right, she's going to tell me she wants more. I really didn't think she would. But we're in the freeway and all of a sudden I hear a tiny little voice say, quiero más empanada. I want more empanada. I almost crashed my car, thank God I didn't. But it was like a ghost saying something to me. So from there, I was able to take her everywhere. Her anxiety levels were so much lower, and she was enjoying life. She seemed so happy for the first time, because even before, the saddest thing was that she wasn't happy. She suffered. Everywhere you took her, she suffered. And so I told my husband, I want to take her to Disney. And he goes, Miriam, she's only 4. I don't know if she'll enjoy it. I'm like, I'll enjoy it. I just want to see her in Disney. I just want to see her happy. So we went to Disney and she was able to take all of that sensory information, and she was happy and she fell asleep after half an hour, but it doesn't matter, because that half an hour, honestly, she was the happiest kid, and I was so fulfilled. She did so much. She started repeating everything people said, and you could see her enjoying the words that she was saying. And with that, with more time, she became more spontaneous in her own language, of course. She's just a different kid now. She goes to school, a regular school. She goes with a shadow. She still needs guidance. She has very little at equations. Like in math, she's pretty much caught up. She still needs her therapies, of course. I mean, she's 8, but in my head, she was born at 4.5. At 4.5 is when, thank God to this treatment with BTC, everything just turned on. It was like God just returned her to me. And I did sit the night before my last treatment. I sat all night, and it was around 4 in the morning that I couldn't sleep, and I was restless because I didn't want to come home. But I had to. I was 5 weeks away from my other daughter, from my husband had returned home. But I didn't want to leave this technology. I didn't want to leave. And also, I thought to myself, why was it chosen for my daughter to have such a great recovery so quickly? I mean, I came in with a very severe child, and I left with so much of a better prognosis. And I just decided that maybe it was just my mission to bring it to where I live, to Panama. I know so many kids here, and I had so many friends who couldn't travel like I could, and so I just started bugging them. I went that last day and I sat with everybody and I said, I really need to take this home with me. I don't know how we're going to do this, but I really need to take this home with me. I have so many kids, and I started telling them about all the kids I had that I could help, and in Central America, so many kids that needed, that couldn't travel to the States. And so I just started a relationship with them. And yeah, I think they were pretty annoyed at me for a while there. You know, I called every day, all day long. But we were able to do it. We were able to open up our center. And now I see so many cases. I have hundreds of cases that we've treated. I've seen kids say their first words. I've seen adults say their first words. I've seen mothers cry. I've seen mothers have miracles like I have. I've seen kids, who've gotten better. And I have to say, because it's important to say, it doesn't work on everybody. It works on 80% of people. To me, they're very high stakes. 80% for us is a great number. But it is true, you know, some kids, they don't respond as well as others. Every brain is different. So I give my testimony to you so you could try it. Try a week and see if it's something that could change your life. For me, anything that could get her better, even if it's just 1%, was worth it. But I got so much more than that. And I have seen patients get so much more than that and leave here different and with new opportunities. And I continue this work, and I continue to push my daughter, and she continues to get better, and we'll see how it ends. I'm so happy to be giving this opportunity, and I am so happy for the miracles I saw in her and I see in every kid that walks in here almost every day. And we'll give it a try. Give it a try and see if it's for you. And if not, then there's so many other things that you could try. There's no giving up hope. That is the last thing any of us need to do. And well, thank you for listening to my story, my journey. And well, I hope that all is well.